That's a fairly new one. This is a very old one. It's called Requiem for a Social Conscience. I do not know her name. We do not ask these things when pity is confused with shame. But she is bent and lame and old. Her face expresses nothing but age and cold. And daily almost she came to the same place, a crumbling wall, where, half sitting, holding lest she fall, she'd wait beneath the sightless gaze of windows, curtained nights and days, against intrusion, against even the grimy sunlight, against involuntary hopes unwelcome there, where hopes have often proved precursors of despair. And even I, who claim to care, passed her daily, smiled, and did not dare to trespass further, but wondered where she slept, and who else was there. I too have curtains on my brain, but they are ragged and cannot keep out the pain of solitude unsought, and the stain upon my consciousness of one unknown old woman wearing slippers in the rain. This one, which once was in the book, I seem to have done some unintended editing. It isn't there now. There's a little cottage the other side of the valley from where I live, which belongs to various people. And some friends of mine once gave me the keys to spend a weekend there to go and sort of sort my head out. And I can't get there now because it doesn't have a road, and my niece would not walk to it. But I went there very late autumn, and nobody had been in it for months and months. And it's called Werenbach, is the name of it. That's a picture of it, which was in the book but isn't now. Are you not sad, house, alone in the winter? Don't you long for a voice to rouse you out of your lonely stupor? Or are the sheep that stand in your lee enough to keep you company? Suppose one came in the dead of winter and brought new candles and lit the fire. Would you be glad to wake from your slumber, or only stir with a sullen ire and silence keep? The wind and the sky have wrapped you round. Shall we sleep now, house? The fire is fading, the mountain is dark, the wind outside is the only sound, and I would sleep. Now I live in a house like that. One more. This one needs a little explanation in that the lane where I live, as you're going towards my house, you drive along this lane and there are fields on both sides. And on one side there's a field going down the valley, and down the bottom of the valley there's a big stone barn, of which Wales is full of stone barns. There's an awful lot of stone to build everything out of. And they're all grey stone. Don't know what sort, it's probably granite or something. But this one has a white stone in the gable end. I don't think most people locally know, only very native locals will know what it's for. My neighbour who owns the land told me what the stone is for, and this explains it. And it's a sestina, which means it's 6 verses with 6 end rhymes, but they rhyme from verse to verse. You have to put the word in a different place, in a different line in each of the 6 verses, and then in the last verse, which is 3 lines, you have all 6 words, one in the middle, one at the end, one in the middle, one at the end, one in the middle, one at the end. So it's a kind of intellectual exercise writing it, but it was quite fun. And this is called a sestina for Lloyd George and the men of Cwmprysor. Cwmprysor is the valley where I live. Is this squeaking?
It's okay, actually. Yeah.
Right. The eve of election in Carnarvon town, bone weary from lugging recalcitrant stone, the men of Cwmprysor asked for a day, just one day, their tools to lay down, begged leave of absence to have their say, and to vote in Carnarvon for one of their own. Slippery and wily, but one of their own, and they needed to vote in Carnarvon town. So they worked the evening and went to say that in spite of a day struggling with stone, they would walk all night, up hills and down, and wouldn't be back until the next day. They downed their tools at the end of the day, for the day was their master's, the night their own. They tramped in dark as the rain beat down, the men of the countryside, tramping to town, leaving behind their walls of stone, through mire and cross mountains to have their say. In later times, men would sometimes say that it was 18 votes that saved the day, so that David Lloyd George is standing on stone outside Westminster on a plinth of his own, and the tale of the Welsh wizard arose in that town when the men from Cwm came striding down. They found the place and marked it down, the cross that said what they had to say. Then they turned and walked back out of the town, and staggered back by the dawn of the day, to the local land that should be their own, and resumed their struggle with rock and stone. They built the barn with the hard grey stone, hauling it up and laying it down, on the day the Welsh people claimed one of their own, and the men of Cwm had their say, and left a memorial marking the day when the Welsh wizard won in Carnarvon town. They remembered their own Welsh wizard of stone, after walking to town up mountains and down. A white stone in the grey remembers the day. It is a true story.